Hey, Soul Warriors, this is Jessica Noel, and I'm coming at you with episode 5 of my podcast, Uncovering Your Authentic Soulful Self. And today, in episode 5, we're going to be talking about the healing power of unconditional love. So, to start off today, I'd like us all to drop into our heart center and just take a moment to tune into our heart center. Oftentimes we're so consumed in the mind, we're thinking, we're doing, we're busy, we're rushing perhaps. And so I want you to really drop your awareness, your energy from your head into your heart. See if you can take a couple of deep breaths and really drop into your heart center. And as you do this, notice, what does your heart center feel like? Does it feel clenched? Is there a tightness? Is there an emotion? Does it feel closed? Perhaps it feels light and open. Just notice anything you can about how your heart center is feeling. Good. So see if you can stay there as you listen to this episode today, staying in your heart center, listening not only with your mind, but with your heart, taking in these words, this information. The first thing that I want to talk about today is an undefended heart. You know, a lot of the time what happens when we experience a painful situation, a loss of some sort, something that we feel very challenged about, something that a lot of people term heart walls, they come up, and this is a unconscious reaction. It's a protective defense mechanism that takes place. And it's there to prevent us from experiencing any more pain, because at that point in time, we have just about as much pain as we can handle. So we're trying to, the subconscious part of us, the protective part of us, is trying to prevent us from experiencing any more at that particular point in time. So there's a purpose to it. But the problem that happens is that oftentimes those heart walls stay up. And when they stay in place, we can't then be open. Our heart is closed. We can't be open to what life wants to bring us. We can't be open to beautiful experiences. We can't be open to a loving relationship. And perhaps we're open a certain percentage, but there's so much more if we can open the heart center, if we can let those walls come down. And in order to let the walls come down, one thing that we have to do is we have to accept vulnerability. You have to have a willingness to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And that can be really challenging, because the experiences you've had before that you've perceived as a loss and as painful, perhaps it was a loss of a loved one, perhaps it was the loss of them from your life, from a breakup or something else, or a job situation, or something in some other area of your life. And when that takes place, it can be challenging to get vulnerable again, because we remember, parts of us remember the pain from that. The thing that's happening, though, is, again, on an unconscious level. Check yourself and ask yourself the questions, am I doing this at all? And what I'm referring to is there a belief that you have somewhere deep inside of you that if you keep the heart walls up, if you don't open fully, if you don't allow yourself to fully be authentic and be open, then somehow you're preventing yourself from having pain if the situation ends, or if the relationship ends, or whatever the situation that you have in your life relates to. If that's there for you, and again, it's very common for that to be there, this belief that protecting yourself, keeping the heart walls up, Not allowing yourself to be fully open and vulnerable is somehow protecting you from experiencing pain if the situation ends in some way. That is absolutely not real. That is not true. Think about it. It's going to hurt the same either way. So I feel like if you really sit with this and think about it, you'll realize that there's a lot of truth to that. It's not going to hurt any less if you're not open. In fact, oftentimes what happens is it hurts a lot more because you realize at some point that you weren't fully in it, you weren't fully engaged, you weren't giving your full authentic self. And so then that can sometimes make way for regrets and other painful emotions. If you allow yourself to be open and to be vulnerable and let the heart walls come down, not only are you allowing yourself to be free, you're not limiting your experiences, but you're also giving your best self. You're showing your best self, and you're also able to accept and take in so much more beauty and so much more loving experiences. And then if something does happen and the situation ends, then you'll have this comfort in knowing that you put everything into it and you did everything on your end and you lived it to the fullest. And that's something that can bring you peace and comfort. Sometimes an attempt with these heart walls, with these protective defensive mechanisms to try to control outcomes. So a lot of times that's paired with it. We're trying to control an outcome or prevent an outcome from happening. And so ask yourself if there are any ways that you are trying to hold on and control outcomes of situations. Perhaps it's through actions. Perhaps it's through not allowing yourself to really feel what your heart is telling you, what you're feeling. Perhaps it's through not letting yourself be loved or give love. Ask yourself if that's happening. The truth is that we can never change outcomes. And so what it does when we're trying to take actions and to think our way out of it and to do all these different sort of mental somersaults is that we're causing ourselves so much pain and so much suffering. And we are in fact not controlling any type of outcome. In fact, we're putting negative energy into a potentially positive outcome. And again, stressing ourselves out, causing chaos. None of it is actually helping to move you in the direction you want to go. So see if you can just take a deep breath in these moments where you're realizing you're trying to control through not feeling or through trying to take actions. If you're feeling a great deal of stress, you're likely trying to control an outcome or prevent an outcome that you do not want. See if you can just allow things to unfold a little more. Let go, allow things to unfold. Can you put some of your belief, some of your energy into the idea that you have a divine plan and that will unfold and is unfolding without you having to do anything about it? It's happening for you, and you can really just go along for the ride and enjoy it. If you can put some of your energy behind that, a knowing, a belief, a possibility even that you have a divine plan and it is unfolding, which would also mean that whoever's meant to be in your life will be in your life. Whoever's meant to leave your life will leave your life. And the same with any situation. You will experience it, you will be in the situation if you're meant to be, and if you're not, you'll be taken out, or somehow the situation will unravel. And that will be in your best interest. So see if you can get behind that, and that may bring you a great deal of peace. And I believe that will resonate as a truth to you as well. So I want to talk about what was just touched on a moment ago, allowing yourself to be loved. So many people are, often without knowing it, fighting off love. not allowing ourselves to be loved. And often it's because of painful experiences from the past. Sometimes it's from conditioning from our family's childhood or the environment, but often it's from previous heartbreak. We're trying to be strong, trying to protect against these potentially painful outcomes. So ask yourself that. Am I defending against love? Am I fighting it off? Is someone in my life trying to love me and I'm not allowing it? Ask yourself if you're doing that and see if you can drop some of those defenses and just allow it. Because truthfully, that's what you want. You want to let the love in, but there's fear there. So this takes strength. It takes a choice. It takes a decision. It takes strength to allow yourself to be vulnerable and to let the love in. The same goes for loving someone else. Are you afraid to do that? Are you fighting that off? Ask yourself if there's fear in there and if you can let that go. Let yourself love and be loved. Sometimes we also fight off divine love, that relationship with spirit, with the divine, with that life force energy. Ask yourself that, because likely if you're fighting off in any way being loved or loving, you're probably doing that to some extent with the divine love, with your relationship with the divine. See if you can let that love in. That's the pure love, that's the unconditional love, and that's the love that we as humans should be striving to offer to others as best we can. So when we talk about divine love and letting that move through us, letting us feel that, I feel like I want to talk next about this idea that I feel like, again, is this subconscious belief for a lot of us, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us, that people should be loving us in that way. So there's some sort of hidden expectation at a subconscious level that our partner, for example, they should be loving us unconditionally and as the divine loves us. So it's like this idea of perfect love. And so they're never going to hit the bar, right? They're always going to fall short every time. And we're going to have these expectations and we're going to be disappointed over and over and over and over because it's never going to be that. So in other words, stop trying to get divine love through a human being. I'll say it again. Stop trying to get divine love through a human being. That's not something that's possible, and it will end in more suffering and challenges in relationships. So see if you have that somewhere embedded in there, and keep that in mind, that you cannot do that. Why? Because humans are imperfect. We all have wounds. We all have patterns. We all have this conditioning from childhood and from experiences. So it's never going to be that perfect divine love. We all have different capacities for loving as well. So that brings me to the next point of, what is unconditional love then? Unconditional love indeed is divine love. It's that love that you can feel and get. You get that during meditation at times, sometimes during healing sessions. And sometimes you can feel it well inside of you as well. There are times, there are moments that you can receive that from a human, and perhaps some of you have, and we'll talk about that in a moment. In order to move towards unconditional love, what you want to do is you want to start to love all parts of the people around you. And that's easy to say those words, and it's harder to put it into practice, but you can do it. So as you look at your partner, or as you look at your family members or friends, there's probably going to be some things that you've been irritated about, that you're frustrated about, that you fight and argue about. And these are probably things that you're perceiving as their wounds and their shortcomings and their patterns. Those are the things that it's time to start to try to love. How can you love all parts of them? Their wounds, the patterns, the shortcomings, the things that frustrate you. One way that you can work towards that is to realize that those very things that you find frustrating, that maybe have hurt you in the past, caused conflict in others, those things are born from pain often, right? From trauma, from painful experiences, from heartbreak, from suffering. Sometimes they're also from childhood conditioning, from their parents, what they learned from their parents, what they learned from society or caregivers. And so now they're just repeating what they know. They're in this default mode, as we've talked about so much, getting out of default and into manual, but they're in default mode. And so they're just repeating that pattern. And think about it this way. They didn't ask to have that pattern. They didn't ask to behave that way. It's just something that was handed down and they haven't unraveled it yet. Maybe they won't, maybe they will. So that too is a way to get compassion, is to look at it like that. And it's either that or it's from pain, from suffering, from trauma. So that can help you to maybe more easily step into compassion in loving all parts of them, especially those parts that are harder to love. You know why? Because those are the parts that need it the most. As you start to love all parts of someone, it is profoundly healing, not only for them, but for you as well. Love is very, very transformative. So as you love these wounded parts, they may transform before your eyes due to this frequency, this energy that you're directing at that, instead of rejecting it, instead of putting the energy of this is bad, this is awful, this is not okay. You're accepting it and you're loving it, and that can be profoundly healing. So ask yourself that. Have you ever felt unconditional love? Have you ever had moments of feeling that? Have you ever felt it from another person? And what was that like for you if you have? It's very healing and very transformative. And this is some of the things that miracles are born of, that we've talked in a different episode about miracles. And this profound energy, this frequency of love, it births miracles and it births transformation. So that will transform you inside as you get to a point where you're more and more, and it might just take some time, or maybe it happens all at once. It could be either way for you. More and more, you start to love all parts of them, or of the person, or of your family, or whoever it is that you're working with this on. It will change you inside. It will heal you inside. And you'll also start to love more all parts of you as well. And maybe that's even where you begin. You know, I've done a lot of groups on self-love. We've done events on self-love. And really it starts with you, and then you're able to offer that to others. But as you start to focus on this, see if you can accept and love your imperfections. First, you want to see what they are. Humbly accept them. Look at them, accept them, acknowledge them. And see if you can have compassion for your own shortcomings and wounds, and extend that to others. So this is also about grace. You're giving them grace to have these wounds, to have these shortcomings, to have these imperfections. Give yourself grace to also really focus on their strengths and their good qualities. Remember that what we focus on expands, it becomes bigger, it becomes more powerful. So oftentimes in relationships, especially when, or maybe it's family dynamics, if you're living together, you know, you're day in and day out, you're interacting with each other. And then pretty soon you find that you're mostly focusing on the things that irritate you, the shortcomings, the frustrations. And so then what it's going to happen in that case, that's going to expand. It's going to feel really big and really powerful. And that's going to feel like the dominant force in your relationship because it's been focused on, right? So flip it and start to recall in your mind over and over their good qualities and their strengths. And it's not that we're ignoring the other things, right? We're trying to love them as long as they're not incredibly harmful to us. We've talked before about some of those boundaries. And sometimes we have to do this unconditional love from a distance. because we have certain boundaries, and it's not possible to do this in a close proximity. However, when you're in relationship or when you're living with someone, recall that in your mind, all the good qualities they have, all the strengths, that's going to get bigger and bigger and more powerful, and you'll start to notice your relationship and the dynamics start to change. So in relationships, what happens is if one person starts to change and start to do this process and the other person doesn't, guess what? The relationship still changes. It only takes one person, because the dynamic changes and love is infused into the situation. And that is, again, very transformative. And keep in mind that we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and so we can really learn from each other. We can appreciate and value the strengths that other people have that we don't have, learn from and value them. And the same thing with weaknesses. We all have different ones. You have them, the people around you have them. We're all designed a little differently. So again, it comes back to trusting your divine plan. Stopping controlling outcomes. There's attempts to try to control outcomes. See if you can put a stop to that, because you cannot control outcomes, right? So there's often a little resistance and an attempt to try to protect yourself and the situation. You're trying to protect yourself from a future heartache by trying to control an outcome, either to prevent one from happening or try to force another one from happening. And so what does that do? Absolutely nothing good that you want to participate in. What happens is when you're trying to control the outcome, you're going to suffer. You're going to feel chaotic. You're going to have all kinds of stress and chaos, and you might even get physically ill from it, because you're trying, it's stopping up the energy. So there's already a flow happening. There's already this divine plan going on, and everything is happening as it's needing to, and you're getting in there and you're causing all this resistance and chaos and stress for yourself. And it's not actually changing the outcome. It's just causing you a lot of stress and suffering. Easy to say that, right? But it's harder when you're living it and you're afraid. There's fear there. You're really wanting something. You have a strong desire. So I understand that it's easy to say that, but it's harder to live it. But you can do that. So see if you can let go a little bit more. See if you can trust in your divine plan. And check yourself. Are you trying to control outcomes? You cannot control outcomes. Things are going to unfold the way they're going to unfold. The best thing we can do to put the right kind of energy into a situation and for our own peace and well-being is to let go and just let it unfold. And doing so with an open heart, allowing those heart walls to dissolve, allowing yourself to feel vulnerable and to be vulnerable. That way you can give love and you can receive it. So it's with the undefended heart. There's certain prayers, decrees, affirmations that you can say to perhaps be able to trust your divine plan. So come up with your own, or send me a message and I can give you several suggestions of prayers, decrees, affirmations that can help you to let go and that can help you to trust in this divine plan, and that it is unfolding, that you do not have to try to control or do a bunch of things. It's unfolding. You can let go and just go with the flow and just watch it happen. Really, there's an observation. You're sitting in stillness and peace and you're observing. You don't have to get in there and do a whole bunch of things. That's what the mind tells us, but we don't have to do that. I want to talk to you about the strongest position. The other thing that happens is sometimes when there's a lot of defense and there's the heart walls and we're trying to prevent ourselves from being vulnerable, we feel like it's weak. Maybe we've been told that or taught that as children, that it's a weakness if you're vulnerable. It's a weakness if you're open-hearted, if you're doing this. Absolutely not. Sit with that and ask yourself about that so that you can come to your own conclusion. My experience and my knowing is that the strongest position, the soul warrior position, again with the soul warrior, is when you are in your power. As we talked about in the last episode, you are standing in your power, you are open-hearted, because what does that mean if you're open-hearted? If you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you have no heart walls, you are absolutely being a warrior, because you know that it may bring positive, amazing experiences, and it may bring experiences that you can learn how to detach from. You can learn how to move through. You can learn whatever it is you can learn. So it takes a lot of strength to allow that, way more strength than to just close off. So this is really the warrior way. The soul warrior way is to open your heart, let yourself be vulnerable. The other reason why is because now you don't have a limitation. So you have heart walls and you're preventing yourself from being vulnerable, or you're doing that maybe because you perceive it as a weakness. What's happening is you're limiting the experiences that you can have in relationships and in all areas of your life. That has now become a limitation to what you're able to achieve, even experience, and the level of love that you can experience in your life, and also all kinds of other spiritual experiences, perhaps miracles. It starts to limit you in many, many ways. It can even limit it'll dim your light. It'll limit your gifts that you can start to use to help others. So that's why it's so important to stand in your power and balance that with having this beautiful open heart, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, no heart walls. You're open to life. You're letting life teach you. You're allowing experiences to come and go. You're loving and you're living life to the fullest. Good. So I want you to also think about, when we talk about loving all parts of someone, think about, again, times where you've maybe felt that, situations where you felt that for a moment, people you felt that from, maybe you felt it from the divine, powerfully healing. It can dissolve your wounds and your pain in just an instant, completely healing and transformative. So how beautiful of a gift is that if you can give that to someone else, if you can spread that beautiful love, spread that unconditional love, loving all parts of people. So along with that, thinking about the frequency of love, emotions and energy, different qualities have frequencies, and love is the highest frequency. You might read different books that have different things listed, but when I say love, I'm talking about the highest frequency, and it's not just love, it's going to also contain bliss and joy. It's going to all be one together. It is love. Love is the highest, most powerful frequency. So as you're embodying that, maybe you're receiving it from the divine and then you're spreading it, right? You're letting that emit from you. Maybe you're loving all parts of someone, and that's how it's starting to develop for you. That has a frequency, that has a vibration, it's measurable, it is profoundly healing. So if you go to a healer, one of those miracle workers we talked about, that's able to bring through that type of energy and create profound healing effects, guess what they're using? Guess what's flowing through them? It's pure love, every time. So if that's all you do in your life is allow this to flow through you, allow yourself to be love, allow yourself to love others unconditionally. Try to spread the divine love as best you can at your fullest capacity, that unconditional love, loving all parts of people. You will be profoundly impacting the world, those around you in the world, as you start to spread this love. So again, let's say that again. As you love unconditionally, love all parts of each person that you come in contact with, recognize these things as pain or as conditioning, loving them, just loving them anyways. Not only will you change and transform, but you will watch the world around you change and transform. What a beautiful gift. Okay, let's end this episode with just a brief moment of tuning into our heart center. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, drop into your heart center. See if you can breathe in and out through your heart center. If you can breathe in love, breathe in light. Allow your heart to open. Let any walls dissolve. Allow it to expand, opening front to back, expanding. I so enjoyed connecting with you today, and I will so look forward to the next time. Bye for now.